What is popping, YouTube? Back again with another video. Today we're talking about buy low players, especially if you're trying to contend here in 2023. Without further ado, let us get started. My number one buy is going to be Mike Evans. Now, the thing that we have to understand about Mike Evans, he is losing Tom Brady. Who's going to be the quarterback? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Is it going to be Kyle Trask? Things we need to decide, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to get involved so that we exactly know who is throwing him the ball. But the thing about Mike Evans is it really hasn't mattered over the past few seasons. If we take a look at player profiler, I know the graphic is kind of blocking it. 1,000-yard season after 1,000-yard season, 125 to 115 targets year after year. I'll say this, Mike Evans felt like he was having a down year last year and then put up that 52-point game in the semifinals. If you made it that far, that is the kind of dynamite wide receiver we're going to be getting with Mike Evans. Now, I know who's throwing him the ball. His value on KTC is currently down at like 115, 110, somewhere around there. Mike Evans is a serious buy. If you can throw an early second and you're contending, that's something that I'd be willing to do, because at the end of the day, those second round picks, a high likelihood that they bust. So I'm banking on the 29-year-old wide receiver who is tall, who's lanky. And yes, maybe the decline is still a year or two away. Maybe those hamstrings, they continue to get pulled each and every year. But Mike Evans is a certified buy for me in Dynasty. My number two buy is going to be Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper had a great year last year. Deshaun Watson came back. Jacoby Brissett kind of was very good overall. But Amari Cooper, still, his dynasty value has fallen, mostly because I think a lot of people actually think he's a lot older than what he is. So he's 28 years old. He will be turning 29 by the time the season starts. But the man was wide receiver 8 on a points per game basis through the first 10 games last season. And if we look at player profiler, 1,160 yards last season, 132 targets on top of 9 receiving touchdowns, which put him as the wide receiver 17 on a fantasy points per game. Those numbers can go up. I think the 132 targets we could easily expect and can see, especially with they added Elijah Moore, David Njoku. I imagine he can get to 140 targets under Deshaun Watson. And if he's kind of getting that target share, and assuming Deshaun Watson bounces back and those targets are a little bit benefit him more, and especially the fact that Kareem Hunt's not going to be back, so there might not be the same amount of receiving work that's being stolen out of the backfield. Amari Cooper seems like a certified buy for me as well in Dynasty. I think you're going to get a glimpse of what kind of assets I'm trying to buy. I'm trying to buy receivers. There's no running backs on this list because the NFL draft is 2 weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks away at this point. And so we're not buying any running backs. Running backs are a little fluctuating, but these wide receivers, you can get some great values on. My third buy is going to be Deandre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, 30 years old, demanded a trade, or the Arizona Cardinals are looking to trade him. Kyler Murray's not going to be back. Even if he somehow stays with the Arizona Cardinals, that's not even going to be the best situation for him. DeAndre Hopkins has been a model of consistency. Now, I know he did take whatever steroid that he did take last year that ended the PEDs that got him suspended for 4 games. But when we look at DeAndre Hopkins is what he has done, we're going to quickly see. I know last year he only played in 9 games, but he still had, in 9 games, he had 96 targets. So he was getting double-digit targets when he did play. He had 1,000 air yards last season, 11.2 yards per reception, 16.9 fantasy points per game. So that's the biggest thing that we need to harp on when we're watching this video. 16.9 fantasy points per game, which put him as the wide receiver 9 last season basis, as he was 29 turning 30. So this year he will be turning 31. There is the age cliff, the Julio Jones. Is he going to fall off? He's going to go to a new team and then just absolutely fall off. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to fall off that hard. Julio had been dealing with tons of injuries, which of course DeAndre Hopkins does get nicked up here and there, but I just, based on his route running, based on his ability, and I watched the Pat McAfee show, and to hear him and Pac-Man Jones talk about how he's so willing to prove the doubters wrong, I'm super excited for DeAndre Hopkins, and he's my third buy. Honestly, I'd probably prefer to buy DeAndre Hopkins over Amari Cooper. Between him and Mike Evans, I know DeAndre Hopkins is a little bit more expensive based on that, how high of his production was last season. I think Mike Evans is a little bit more discounted. If I was a contender and I needed a receiver that's going to get me over the hump, I'm definitely going to be choosing DeAndre Hopkins if I want to pay up. But if it's a little bit cheaper option, I will be going with Mike Evans. My final buy low player is going to be Ryan Tannehill. We know we play in super flex leagues, guys. Quarterbacks are king. Now, there's a lot to be said about what's happening currently with Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry is listed as he's on the market. Ryan Tannehill is listed as he's available. Ryan Tannehill is also 34 years old. Keep trade cut. Ryan Tannehill is all the way down. All the way down. He's like QB 35. people are taking Matthew Stafford, who is 2 years older and has a shoulder issue, over people like Ryan Tannehill. He's like in the Jimmy G range currently. And I think that is super disrespectful to Ryan Tannehill. Now, I know Ryan Tannehill did not perform to the level that we wanted him to last year. So if we're going to take a look, of course, bring back in player profiler, 13.9 fantasy points per game, put him as the QB, 2,300 points per game basis. Last year, it was just brutal. But he only played in 12 games and had 325 passing attempts. And most of the time, Treylon Burks was injured for a lot of the year. They got rid of A.J. Brown. Robert Woods was recovering from an ACL. They didn't give Ryan Tannehill the necessary weapons. Now, I'm not saying that Ryan Tannehill is an elite fantasy quarterback by any means. But when you're getting him at these dirt low prices, we're talking late second round picks to then start for you. Or even if you have to throw in a mid pick to be able to get your QB3. I think Ryan Tannehill slots in as an amazing QB3 that could potentially give you post-production past this season. He's not just the next Matt Ryan who's going to get traded to the Colts and then all of a sudden he's going to be out of a job after a year. I think Ryan Tannehill definitely has a 1 year to 2 years that he's going to have to figure out. But I think Ryan Tannehill is a great buy currently in Dynasty. So like I said, let me know what you think of all these buys. Let me know if you think of that intro video. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. We're going to continue to put out more fantasy football content as we get towards the end of the year. And like I said, keep it classy, folks.